Hi everybody and welcome to my weekly video. This is Tracy's Homestead and we discuss homesteading, homeschooling, and anything that's tangent to those topics. So this week I'm planning on talking about education. So if you are interested in hearing some opinions on education and what we do with education, then grab a cup of tea or coffee or wine or whatever your thing is, and join me. Everybody, and we're discussing mostly like North American education here, everybody has a basic understanding of what education has been over the past few hundred years. But let's go over it real briefly. And actually, before that, I should tell you a little bit about my background. So, let's see. To start off, my grandfather taught in public schools for about 4 decades. He was in public schools forever, and he went all the way to the top, all the way down to the bottom, up and down, and he loved teaching. And I wanted to be a teacher too. Teaching, it made my heart feel so good that somebody cared enough about all of these kids that they wanted to educate them and help them. And I had some really, truly amazing elementary school and middle school teachers when I was in public school, because I was public schooled up until the age of about 13, 14. That summer was my 8th grade was my last formal schooling. And then, yeah, I moved to Alaska and became homeschooled. I was homeschooled for a few years, and then I stopped homeschooling and I went into college. And originally I started to learn elementary education because I still wanted to be a teacher. I switched to early childhood education because I found that was more my calling. I liked the younger years a little bit more, and that goes up to about 3rd grade. But I had finished about a third of my elementary education degree at that point and just switched to early childhood education. So a lot of the classes transferred. It was pretty simple. And I started focusing more on the younger years. I then moved to a new city and couldn't finish my degree. So instead of finishing my early childhood education degree, I decided to just finish with a general degree. So I do have several years of college under my belt. Just a degree doesn't prove that I do. So I taught as a preschool teacher. I worked in schools as a substitute teacher for years, and then I worked as a special education paraprofessional in a unique way, in that I was basically the special education teacher for the students instead of just implementing what the teacher gave me. I was the one coordinating all of the education and everything like that for my students. After all of that, and amongst it, I've also done a lot of early childhood education in my nannying jobs before I became a mom. And then when I had my first kid, he's 8 years old, I decided to stay home. And that was the end of my formal work. Now I work at home. I knew that I wanted to homeschool my kids, and my husband at first was not so sure. He had been public schooled his whole life and was kind of assuming that either public or Catholic school was going to be our best decision. And it took a little bit of discussing and looking into, and we are both now very firmly rooted in our vocation of homeschooling. I've been homeschooling them since they were 3 or 4, so about 5 years, but I've had a lot of experience, so it's not like I've only been at this game for a couple of years and I don't know what I'm talking about. So with all of that, let's discuss what public education is and was, and what I feel education ought to be. We all know that in the beginnings of public education, which happened around 1850 on into, let's just give it a cutoff of 1900, just to make it easier on us for the sake of this video. There's a few years difference there. But for those first 50 years or so, people were in smaller areas, doing a lot of homesteading, etc. And there was a lot of really interesting societal events happening. And I did a little extra research so that I could see what else was going on. I knew what classrooms looked like. I knew what they did. We've all probably read Little House on the Prairie. We've all seen the old primers. We've all seen things like that. But we may not know the history of public education. The goal of public education in the beginning, in the first 50 years, was to basically take the savage out of the child and to find the geniuses and get rid of the ones that weren't going to do anything, and to change the faith of those coming from faith-filled backgrounds to what society wanted them to believe, to bring everyone to science and away from God, to bring everybody to being public property instead of private property, and to belong to civilization instead of themselves. And to be honest, I was absolutely shocked when I was reading all of this, but these are quotes from the founding fathers of education, and it really does explain why the public school education system is the way that it is today. Because as much as we like to say that we've gotten away from that, and individual teachers, absolutely, individual schools, absolutely, yes, they have wonderful motivation and good techniques, and there is nothing wrong with wanting to educate in the way that you think things ought to be educated. But the problem is that it's so ingrained in the system now. We take kids from their homes and we say, it's not important that you learn how to cook and clean and help with your siblings. It's important for you to learn fractions. Well, but by cooking and cleaning and caring for my siblings, I was learning fractions. They say, it's not important for you to learn how to work with tools. What's going to be more important is for you to learn how to write a 5-paragraph essay. Well, but by working with tools, I'm learning how to provide for my family and furthering my education that way. And so it's turned into this situation where we have separated education from life so much because we want everyone to be the same sort of civilized. Nowadays, a lot of people are trying to find a way to bridge that gap, or a way to compensate for how schooling and education has taken a turn. And a lot of us have turned to homeschooling. If you're not experienced with homeschooling, it can look kind of funny, like, well, only the place changed, so what's different? Well, no, actually, that's not usually how it goes. Usually, if somebody takes their child out of a public or private school and brings them home, the first year looks a lot like school. The first year, they might say, I want to go find some surplus desks, and I want to get myself a globe, and I want to get myself a little whiteboard and a pointy stick, and all of these things. We're going to sit down, and between the hours of like 9 and 2, we're going to do this, and we're going to have this set curriculum, and we're just gonna do it at home so that we're at home. And then people usually get through maybe not even the first year, and they realize, this is what I disliked about the school. It wasn't necessarily who was teaching them. It was what they were being taught and how, and the importance given those different things. So at home, you find that children are educated in a way that is just remarkably different than they would in a brick and mortar setting. And so I'd like to kind of show you around how we homeschool and homestead at the same time, and show you the kinds of things that we do to educate the whole child and to keep our adult selves learning as well, and why I think that is better than any brick and mortar school you'll be able to find. Okay, little man. So, I'm going to ask you 3 different questions. Okay? And it's about homeschooling.
Okay.
Okay. The first question is, what do you learn in homeschool? From, like, when you're actually doing school, when you're, like, working in your books and stuff.
I learned how to multiply, and I learned how to divide.
Mm-hmm. What other stuff do you learn from the books and stuff?
Other books that aren't school books, I learned how to read.
Mm-hmm. How long does it usually take you to do school? This is still part of that first question.
Well, probably at least 1 hour, maybe a little less.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely a little less.
Yeah. It doesn't really take that long during the day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was question number 1. Question number 2 is, what do you learn being homeschooled, okay, that is not in school books? Like, just from life. What do you learn being homeschooled that's not in school books?
I learned how to cook.
Yep.
And I'm pretty good at it already.
All right, this is the last question. Are you ready? You might have to think about this one for a minute. Okay? This question is, what would change about you if you went to a school building away from home? What would change about you? What would be different about you?
I wouldn't be used to homeschool if you just suddenly started doing it. I'd be eating lunch at someplace else, and I'd only have 15 minutes instead of like an hour.
Yeah. Do you think that you would still feel the same, or do you think you would feel different?
I think I'd feel completely different.
Like what?
Like I'd have half an hour of outside time when I should have 1 hour.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to know?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Thanks for chatting so I can put it on my video.
You're welcome.
You want to go get Dominic?
Yeah.
Okay, Dominic. We got 3 questions. Anthony, can you please go play somewhere else? Thank you. All right, Dominic. Question number 1. It's all about school, okay? So question number 1 is, what do you learn at home from when you're doing school?
Well, I learned about body parts.
Yeah? We learned about nutrition and stuff just the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And like how that works. What else do you learn?
Adding and subtracting.
Mm-hmm. What else? Tell me all the things you learn.
I learned about the alphabet. I learned about maps. I learned about plants and animals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of it.
Okay.
But I also learned about other things.
So all of that stuff is, did you learn all of that stuff from your books? Like your school books when we sit down and we write and do school?
Not all of it.
Okay, so what the next question is, what do you learn at home that's not in school books? So some of that is what you that's not in school books, but what other stuff do you learn at home or because you're homeschooled, but it's not inside of like your workbooks?
I learn about like how people from like babies into grown-ups, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. What else?
I learn how to plant seeds.
Yeah. Any more that you want to tell us?
Let's skip to my last question.
Oh, you want to skip to your last question? Were you listening to Anthony?
Yep.
Yeah. You weren't supposed to. You were supposed to come up with it on your own.
Well, I'm doing completely different things.
Oh, I see. Okay. Question number 3 is, if you, Dommy Doms, went to a school in a building, not at home, went to a public or a private school, what would change about you?
That's a hard one. Well, I'd get beaten up by bullies.
Okay, let's imagine you don't get beat up by bullies, okay?
I'd go to the principal for a couple mistakes.
Oh, yeah, you think you would? What? Okay. What else do you think would happen that would change about you?
The
What would be
teacher would
different?
slap my hand with a ruler.
They don't do that anymore. They're not allowed to do that anymore. But I'm not
Is
asking
that
what
not
would...
illegal?
Listen, I'm not asking what would happen to your body, like what people would do to you. I'm asking what would change, like, inside you, like how you would feel.
Actually, pretty bad.
Like what?
I'd be really scared
Yeah.
and really hurt.
And really hurt?
Yeah, I think I'd be bleeding.
From what?
Bullies beating me up.
I hope not, but I'm glad you're home.
Me too. If you
Do
want
you
to
think
know,
you're going to be a good grown-up?
Yep.
When you grow up, do you think that you would be better as a grown-up when you're homeschooled or if you went to a school building? Which would want to make you...
homeschooled.
Yeah, why?
Because people are nicer. If people hurt me, it would just teach me to be rude.
Yes. Do you think you think you'll be a nicer grown-up?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for doing the video with me.
Okay. And if you want to know more about homeschool, just come to our website.
What website?
The homeschool one.
You don't have a website yet.
Yes, I do.
Okay. You're going to be like 90% of the blooper reel. Right. Could you go get Patrick, please?
Okay.
Bye. Come here, you can sit with me. Okay, I'll do you. Margaret, do you like to do homeschool?
Yeah.
What do you do for homeschool?
I know.
You don't know. Do you color in the books?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you help mommy?
Yeah.
What do you help mommy with? Bread? And then what else do you help me with?
I know.
Hang on, Patrick. Don't worry.
I
She's
help you with
just practicing.
bunch of cheese.
Okay. Good job. A bunch of cheese. Good job. Margaret, how about 2 more questions? And then it's Patrick's turn. Understand? Okay. Okay. Margaret, one question is, what would happen if you went to school?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, here's another question. What's your favorite color?
Pink.
Good job. High five. Okay, Patrick's turn. Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Mom.
I'm going to ask you different questions. How old are you?
5.
That's right. Okay. Do you like doing school at home?
Yeah.
Do you like doing your workbooks or do you like learning things with no workbooks?
I like both.
You like both. Okay. Do you like writing letters or numbers better?
Numbers, they're easier.
Numbers are easier. That's good to know. Do you like cooking or gardening better?
Cooking and gardening is the same.
You like them the same? Okay.
Well, they're like the most.
What is hard for you in school?
The things that I don't know.
Margaret, could you please get down? Thank you. Things that you don't know are hard for you. Okay. What's easy for you in school?
The things I know how to do.
Stop, Margaret. The things that you know how to do.
Yeah, like the things I've already, like the things I've already done, I can have the same thing.
Yeah, doing the same thing that you've already done before.
Yeah, like the Korean thing.
Yeah.
The red thing. I have another one of those things, only Korean a different.
Okay. And here's your last question. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What would change about you, about Patrick here, not about everybody else, but only what would change about you if you went to a school in a building and not at home? What would change? How would you feel?
Bad?
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I like it.
You like it here? Yeah. Do you think that when you are homeschooled, do you think that's going to make you a good grown-up or a bad grown-up?
Well, I think in the middle.
In the middle? Okay. Do you have anything else that you want to tell me about homeschooling?
No.
No, you're done.
But here's one thing.
Okay.
Hug.
Hug and kiss.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, go play. Okay, Margaret, you can finish your interview. Margaret, do you like to write letters?
No.
Do you like to color?
Yeah.
Do you like to do Play-Doh?
Yeah.
That's fun, huh?
And I like to do gardening.
Gardening. Do you like to do tea party with your sister? Yeah. What if Mommy said that you had to go to school far away? Would that make you happy or sad?
Sad.
Yeah, that would make me sad too. I like being with you. We get to do school here, huh? Yeah.
You do 1 and 2, 2.
Ready? This little piggy went to market and this little piggy stayed home. This little piggy ate roast beef and this little piggy and this little piggy went wee, 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 all the way home. This little cow eats grass, this little cow eats hay. This little cow is a good little cow and this little cow ran away. This little cow went wee, 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 all the way home. So you've heard what I have to say about public schooling and institutionalized learning and homeschooling and my opinion on all of that. and you've gotten to hear from my kids about what their opinion is of homeschooling and how it works for us. But what this video hasn't covered yet is some of our like routines, day-to-day or year-to-year or month-to-month type things. So I'll try to go over that kind of quickly. And we'll start by saying that we school year-round. We don't really take any specific time off, and we don't have any specific start dates, although we totally participate in homeschool kickoffs and things like that, usually in the end of August. And that's when we tell the kids, you're in the next grade up. Okay. But to be honest, I get a lot of work done with the kids during the summertime and around the holidays, because that's when we have a little bit more time to buckle down and really learn interesting things. As far as our daily schedule goes, we also don't really worry about weekends. Sunday, yeah, we go to Mass. And but my kids still end up doing school during the weekends, and sometimes I say, it's okay, you can take a break, don't worry about it. But sometimes I'm like, yeah, you should definitely go practice this again. Good for you. Our school day usually looks sort of like this. Most of the work gets done in the morning because the kids wake up and have breakfast, usually with their dad, because I am a night owl. And after breakfast, they have a few jobs that they do, tidying up the table in the dining room, taking out trash and taking care of our chickens, things like that. And then they go and they get their workbooks and they start on their workbooks. And the workbooks, now this is not very unschooly, right? Okay. Here's the thing. The workbooks are not necessary, but they do give my kids a little bit more structure, and they get to pick how they're going to work on it. And if it's not working for us, we stop them and we don't keep doing them. And you know what? I get my workbooks from Dollar Tree. This one is for my kindergartner, and it's nice and simple. And it gives him just enough structure that he can feel accomplished doing something. And he kind of can use, like for this one, is consonant and vowel sounds. So he can use that in practicing reading outside of that. Now, a huge part, in my opinion, of being able to unschool successfully is to have a vast array of resources available to you. And that comes from quality places and quality time periods and everything else like that. So I'll show you just a few of the things that we have on hand. We get a variety of reading books, readers. This one is Little Angels Readers, and it has a writing book that goes with it, workbook, but honestly, we don't use this very much. We also have used readers from schools that are getting rid of their old stuff, and it's just to have the resource on hand. If I'm like, I haven't heard a lot of reading practice lately, let's go open up the Little Angel Readers and see where we're at, or let's open up Treasures and see where we're at. That helps you to get practiced in the reading, learning up the skills that you need and building upon them. Okay. On the same topic of reading, we keep a fairly large, especially for where we are now, array of good books at a variety of levels. We've got down from, board books, but lots of easy words in here and repetitive type things. Then next level is kind of like the picture books, storybooks, things that apply to us, things that the kids can kind of, honestly, they memorize it, and then they're like, oh, I remember how this goes, and then they find the words and read along. We use books like the Dear America or America Diary type things for some history, because even though It is a fictional person. They are discussing non-fictional events. And this is a very accessible way to teach younger kids about history. This is the World War II diary of Madeline Beck, and we've got a lot of different World War II diaries that show different aspects of the same time period. Okay. And then on up to things like Hatchet. My boys love Hatchet and all of the Gary Paulson books. And this, honestly, I think is what got my third grader reading more passionately. He wants to be able to read stuff like this, so he's like, I'm going to work harder on reading the stuff that's not as hard so that I can get up to this level and read stuff myself. We always, at bedtime, we are always reading different books that, I mean, sometimes, yeah, we read like storybooks, but most of the time I'm reading from some sort of series. Right now I'm reading Little House on the Prairie, and we have The Hobbit, we have Narnia, and things like that. Good books are very important in homeschooling. We also make sure that we have resources like children's encyclopedias so that they can look up whatever interesting thing that they want. Talks about like the human body or ancient Egypt or anything. They can get just enough to help them to jump off and learn more. This is a science curriculum that I actually do really like. It's called Behold and See on the Farm. Because we are a homesteading family, a lot of this applies to my kids. They understand it. They're like, and I'm like, should we read about seeds or should we skip seeds? And we would read a little bit and they're like, oh, we already know this. So we would move on. For math, if it's not covered in the workbooks that they are practicing, this is a very good kind of like backbone for math. It's Life of Fred, and it comes in a series, and it is sassy and just barely touches on rude. Not rude. It's interesting enough to gain the interest of little boys who would rather go do something else. So it kind of does math in a story format, and when we are having a hard time getting back into math, and we haven't done a lot of math lately, I pull out Life of Fred, and we start reading whatever Fred is doing, and at the end it has a thing that says, your turn to play, and it just has a couple questions, and it says, here, let's practice what we learned. Having resources is the most important part of unschooling, because if somebody needs to learn about something and you don't have that resource, you can't just say, we'll learn about that next year. You've got to go find that resource. You've got to say, oh, well, I know you want to learn about U.S. history. And I actually do have a book of that, but my kids must have put it away. But you're only in third grade, and that doesn't happen until fifth grade, so you're out of luck. Sorry. No, we will go into it, and we will say, okay, let's get our book out. What did it say about this? Let's read this for a little bit and see what it says. And then we bring it back to today. You know, how does that history affect us now? And I think, now here's kind of the wrapping up of the video. It is my opinion that institutionalized learning, public and private schools, brick and mortar schools, are filled with loving, caring people who are amazing and wonderful people. I know, because I really wanted to be one of those. And if you go into a school, you'll probably find a whole bunch of people who are wonderful people, who really do care about kids, and really do want to educate them. This is in no way a knock against the people in the system. It is, however, a knock against the system itself. Institutionalized learning was made to get the savage out of the child And in some cases, it was quite literally to get the savage out of the child. There's been a lot of racial inequality with schooling. There's been a lot of inequality as far as like poverty levels. And if you're not good enough, then they don't want you. They call it public schooling, but it's really only so they can get the cream of the crop. And then there's also the opposite, where everyone goes into a class and the one or two that really could go far educationally are held back because the rest of the class isn't up to speed. And instead of allowing them to move forward, the system, not the people, the system does not allow them to continue further. They say, no, you've got to learn it at the same rate. I'm sorry, we just can't mess with it. And I just feel like our kids deserve a little bit more than that. So, if you've ever considered homeschooling, or if you know somebody who's homeschooling and they need some encouragement, I even have friends that are homeschooling and need encouragement. Anyone who would like to discuss homeschooling and how it works in with a daily life rhythm and how it works with homesteading and everything else and how it works with your faith or lack thereof, whatever, go ahead and let me know, because I actually really love chatting with people one-on-one, and I have time because, like I said earlier, I'm a night owl. And yeah, I hope that this video was edifying and helpful and piqued some interest, and I hope that nothing in it was too controversial, because I'm very sensitive and I get my feelings hurt easily, so please don't be mean to me. And yeah, I hope that it was good, and I hope that it was a little bit of change from the normal homesteading stuff, just enough to kind of go, oh, I didn't know she did that too. So, all right. Peace out, all you beautiful people. May God bless you and keep you, and I'll see you over on Instagram at Tracy's Homestead with an EY. Also, just went ahead and started a Facebook page, also Tracy's Homestead, but there's a space in the middle there because you can do that on Facebook. So if you are not on Instagram but you're on Facebook, you can look me up there. I'm going to be trying to post regularly on both sites. You might see some duplicates because some people are on Facebook and not Instagram, or vice versa, and so I want to cover all my bases. But yeah, thank you very much, and we'll see you later.